Fanboy Modeling School. Hello and welcome to the Fanboy Modeling School. I am the Fat Mantis, now in HD, and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Steve, really no gimmicks, also in HD. How's everyone doing?
I'm living the dream right now. How are you?
I'm good, man. Fanboy Modeling School, RizRadio.com, Riz Radio Live 365, or wherever you enjoy your internet radio. Mantis,
Oh, yeah.
Steve.
Yeah. We are not in front of a live studio audience tonight.
Which means the pressure's off to worry about anyone coming in and scrutinizing what we have to say. So with that said, Steve's political views surmised in 26 pages and left. 86% of you are already going to the gulag.
Arrest him, Elon! Arrest him! Here we are. We are audience free, but we're also opinionated free. We're just going, we're going off the cuff. It's gonna be wild. It's a good time here on Riz Radio with the Fanboy Modeling School, weeknights, drive time. That's 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern on your favorite radio station.
Absolutely. Honorable mentions. You can't stop me. I have an honorable mention, and I won't be silenced. I will not be silenced on this one. I just binge watched The Chosen all 4 seasons.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, that's why I haven't been watching anything else, because I was like, I just put it on. You know, I've been on my whole spiritual walk, right? And I've been abstaining from as much secular stuff as possible, besides like what I need to watch for the show.
Oh,
and,
wow, I didn't realize. Here's it is. I knew you were. I did notice you were on your holy roller kick.
Holy roller kick.
But I didn't know you were abstaining from secular things.
As best as I can. Like, there are obviously moments, like, I don't know if you caught mic check last on Tuesday, new for me Tuesdays. You know, I gotta listen to music that's obviously not Christian based. I can squeeze a few Christian songs in there, but let's be real, Mantis. A lot of Christian music isn't that good. So,
whoa, calm down.
I'm talking about Christian hip hop, but there are some amazing.
Lord, he didn't mean
no hymns. I'm not the stuff we sing in church. The gospel music. I'm talking about the cheesy,
of course, you can be critical.
White girl with the guitar who's that stuff.
I know.
But here, check it out, man. I binged The Chosen, and I have to tell you, one, I don't think it's heretical. It's taking some liberties, right? But otherwise, I think it's good TV, man. I really enjoyed.
Okay. This is good.
I enjoyed the spaces they filled in there. A lot of the dialogue that's added in is kind of reflective or experiential in the sense of it's your common things that people experience being believers. Like, God, why do evil things happen? Why do evil things happen to me? And they've used the apostles in appropriate ways to add some subtext to the story, but they did start it with a disclaimer that says, go read your Bible. Go read your Bible.
As you all should be out reading your Bibles right now, actually.
I enjoy it. I enjoy the dude that plays Peter, the guy who plays Jesus. I would prefer that he wasn't a shaggy looking white boy, but I believe he's got some type of olive in his skin somewhere.
Isn't that the quintessential Jesus nowadays, though?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever watched the Gospel? Oh, I showed it to you, the Gospel of John, where they have the Arabic dude.
Yeah,
amazing. I was like, where's white Jesus? But all that to the side, my friend, just finished the last episode of season 4 this week, and I'm looking forward to season 5, man. I've seen a few of the trailers, and I'm like, wow, this is getting intense. Like, it's really
I love to hear this. I love to hear this, because here's what it is. I'm gonna call myself out right now.
Right.
How often is it that you're speaking to a Christian, as I am a Christian, but maybe someone who's a little more Christian than me? Maybe they're more culturally Christian, or maybe they're a more charismatic church or something, and they say, "Hey, bro, you need to check this out." And I'm like, "Yeah," and then you check it out, and it's not good at all. Like someone's like, "Check out this Christian rap album," and you're like, okay, thanks for wasting 45 minutes of my time, or something like that, right? There's always nonsense like that. And so I was worried that The Chosen was going to be one of those things that Christians were just saying they liked because they're Christian.
Absolutely.
You know.
And no, I 100% agree. When you told me about it, I was like, repent, you filthy pagan. And then I found myself with nothing to watch. And I got to say, the first few episodes were a little rough to get through, but once I committed, I really enjoyed the ride. Obviously, season 4 is very emotional for multiple reasons that are represented in the Bible. And then there's the fictitious stuff they added. Spoiler alert, a major character who is not in the biblical narrative dies. And I knew that by mistake, and it was still heartbreaking to see it.
Oh, okay. Wow. So they add characters and even kill them off?
Yeah, wait, you haven't watched it yet?
I have not seen a single thing of The Chosen.
Why did you tell me to watch it?
Because everyone was saying to watch it. I didn't realize I made it pass it off like I had seen it. No, I have not seen it. You're advising me to see it, right?
I mean, I don't want you to get kicked out of your church or anything, but no, go check it out. I want to set the context on it, man. It is not a 100% word for word representation of the synoptic gospels or of the book of John. It is represented and it has all of that stuff in there, but they have filled it. So when you're reading John or you're reading Matthew, what's missing from the narratives? I mean, the stories of the Bible, like,
right?
There's not a lot
of they jump around.
Yeah, there's not a lot of exposition, not a lot of dialogue going on. And if there is, you know what I'm saying, it's like, but it's good. It's represented well. Some background story, but again, it's just not all of it is in the Bible, and it's not.
I cannot wait to check it out. I know after they're done with the Jesus story, they're going to be doing the David story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's that studio. They're going to be doing that. Have you heard of the Chosen's gospel?
No.
See, when I had heard actually, this is what originally put the Chosen on my radar. Okay. When I had heard that the studio that was doing the Chosen, I knew it existed. I knew there was a Jesus show. They put out a book of the gospel, and you're like, did they rewrite the Bible? And so they did something bizarre, and I don't think it's blasphemous. But what they did is they took the 4 gospels and they organized them in chronological order.
Right.
So even lines, like one minute you're in John and then the next minute you're in Luke. You know what I mean? And they cut all the lines up and they put them chronologically order. So it's easier for somebody to study or read.
Okay, so I have an opinion about this, but I am not God and I'm a big biblical scholar. I don't think that's the best way to read that stuff, but I don't think it's condemnable, like damnable heresy, unless they're adding stuff. As long as you're not adding stuff, you're good. But as this is an entertainment episode tonight, right? I just wanted to let you know I watched it, and I've consumed a lot of Christian content. This is the 5th thing I think that I can say I would actually suggest to someone and say, hey, go watch it.
That's good. That's definitely on my radar. I'm going to check that out.
Absolutely. That was my honorable mention. Also, I just wanted to let you know my next honorable mention is really quick, but finish that thought you were about to kick out right now.
Oh, I was going to say, and as you had a beautiful, uplifting honorable mention, mine is all rage-filled and wild. I want to talk about the Oscars, right? And so this happens to me every single year. For all of you guys know, I love movies. I love all this stuff. I'm into it. I watch as many movies every year, mostly pirated.
Right.
But I watch as many movies of the year, so by the end of the year, I can actually have a decent opinion. I formulated an educated opinion on what is the best actor, what is the best actress. It doesn't always align. Usually doesn't align, right? But every year, I put my hopes that the Academy Award is going to do the right thing, that they're going to do the right thing. And this year, of course, they had to do another thing to piss me off, to waste my night, and just destroy everything, right?
Oh, my goodness.
So here, let me, for my most cynical, I want to stand out and I want to tell you what I've witnessed and what I believe happened, right?
Okay.
So do you know the film Amelia Perez?
No, I do not.
So this was originally everyone in the industry, all the Hollywood guys, main movie that they wanted to go for. It is a Netflix movie where it's about a Mexican drug cartel guy to escape prosecution, gets a sex change operation, and gets turned into a woman. Then he pretends to be his children's aunt, and he fools his own kids, and is a musical.
Oh, I have, yes.
You probably heard about it, right? And so people were all about this movie. And when I actually watched it, and I gotta tell you, that was a very bad movie. It was like, it was bad in every single way. It was like the songs were horrible, the plot was nonsensical. Like the part where he fools his kids don't know that that's the feminized version of their dad. It was very weird, right? And so, however, everybody's loving it. And why? There always has to be some sort of political thing with the Oscars. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to uplift trans people, right? They're like, this year we're going to give it to the trans people. We're going to, and then what ends up happening? Do you know what ends up happening?
No, I don't, but I almost don't want to know, but go ahead.
So what ends up happening is because of Twitter, and Twitter is so miraculous as it is, people were able to look back at the old tweets of the actress.
Nice.
And she's a sympathizer of a certain guy who started and maintained World War II. A mustachioed fellow.
A mustachioed fellow.
And she agrees with him on numerous things. She had a lot of horrible things to say about George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And
rewind. Stop. You're giving me a lot of good stuff right now. I just got to pause you for 1 second. She is a transitioned human being, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And prior to their transition, he had some colorful beliefs in regards to the Zcal group.
Yes.
But then forgot to take that stuff off the internet when he went to her.
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
I mean, you can't even make this up. This is like better than a movie, right? And so the problem is everyone, it has already been nominated for all these. It's actually the most. It's so funny. People decided to uplift trans people so much this year that it is the most nominated movie ever. This is over Ben-Hur or The Ten Commandments or Titanic. It has more nominations than that. It's crazy. But now that people know the truth, people don't want to vote for this movie or uplift any of it. So they had to pivot. And so what could they do? This year there were a lot of great movies. Wicked. There's the one Conclave about voting in a new pope. There's a lot of compelling movies this year. Even the brutal.
2?
What?
Dune Part 2?
Dune Part 2 was nominated for Best Picture. Absolutely. It was definitely could have been any of that. What they decided to do was then instead direct all of their energy and votes toward Andor, which is a movie that glamorizes being a sex worker. And then, of course, when they won for Best Picture, they get up there and they're talking about how we need to legalize prostitution and that we need to be supportive of the sex worker community, which is looked down upon and shamed. And it became a night of celebrating sex workers.
Folks, I want you to know a little bit of backroom knowledge about this show, right? So we do an intro, we do honorable mentions. Some of our honorable mentions are weak stories that don't make it to the main course, right? Some of our main course stuff will never air because we never get to it, as we were joking about in the green room. This might be one of the best honorable mention sections we've had in quite some time, because the pivot from a trans-friendly movie glorifying the escape of a cartel member who's trying to avoid consequences by becoming trans, which would be problematic in the narrative of accepting trans people. If I was in that community, I'd be very upset, because what that is this person didn't identify with their struggle, because that's the huge part of it, right? Stop me if I'm not cooking well enough. A huge part of this is acceptance and identifying, right? This person in this fictional piece of story didn't identify with their movement. He was just trying to get out of being in trouble, so he became a woman. And then it turns out that person was a sympathizer, so they have to pull that. They dissed Dune to give it to the movie about the hookers.
And I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's totally crazy, man. The funniest thing about Amelia Perez, not only everything you just said, But another funny thing is, like, I think, and it's funny because the creators of it are French. They're not even Mexican.
Oh, perfect. I was wondering when you were going to get to that.
Right. And so it's French people exploiting both trans people and Mexican people. And they're so aloof that they don't realize that cartel people are the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't represent Mexico. You're not repping Mexico if you're a cartel guy.
And they are the ones who, any illegal organized crime unit, guess what they deal in also is a little side hustle, human trafficking, right? It's not the government. Okay. It is illegal for a reason. It is because it brings these various groups into it, right? If you legalize it, then you're just going towards a decay of society. But I know there's some people that would make the argument like, you got to let people make their bad decisions so they can make their best decision. I get that argument. I don't support it. I think there should be some laws put in place where people can't just go full tilt and do whatever they want, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that by myself.
But no, you're absolutely right. And so I think last episode I even pointed out that I'm a broken Windows type of law enforcement guy, meaning I think that everything from even the beautification of your community is important for law enforcement to do. So it is a problem when people are hanging out in the corner smoking weed. That's a problem. Someone's sitting on the stairs drinking a 40, even though he's not hurting anyone. That is a problem because that just creates urban decay.
It does. I see what you're saying. Listen, drink your 40 ounce, just stay on the stoop. Don't drink your 40 ounce and then beat your wife with it, is what we're saying. If you people could get it together. But that's crazy. Did Dune win anything, my brother?
Just like visual effects stuff, the usual. They always do that, right? They're like, oh, these guys are only getting visual effects and we're not going to give them anything cool. Dune 2 was amazing.
Dune 2 was amazing, and I have a theory about that, and it doesn't hold up. So I already know before I say it, my theory doesn't hold up. I think Dune is too big for Hollywood. The scale is too big. They can't differentiate it from a comic book movie. They're like, what? What is this? A book? It must be comic book stuff. And they just wrote it off.
I think your theory holds up. I think it can. Yeah. I think they're too pea-brained to know what true art is, and they're like, people are flying. A desert is a desert. They see, they see Lord Atreides, and they're like, oh, there's Captain America doing his thing.
Last thing for the honorable mentions, I got to tell you this, man. My other honorable mention was that Native Tongues made an album. Go check it out. We talked about made a song. We talked about it on Mic Check. Shout out to them. I don't want to underplay that. You know what my middle son was watching this morning or the other morning, and I just thought it was hilarious. And I was like, man, I wish Mantis was up visiting while this was happening. So my middle son fixates on things. He he's on the spectrum, but it's an adorable thing what he gets into. He was watching the Eternals the other day. And he kept rewinding the fight scene on the beach. And I just got to be honest with you, man. I know why the Eternals didn't work. I finally figured it out 5 years later. This is it. I know why the Eternals didn't work. It's because the Academy tried to get involved with Marvel. They tried to get that was clearly a movie that was made to try to get the Academy on
right. No, you're right. They tried to do art house superheroes, which like I think what was it, Kathy Yan? She had already won an Oscar
for a movie about a woman pooping, right? She made
pooping in the field. That's all that movie is. It should have been called that. Somehow that wins an Oscar, right? Not Paul Atreides taking back the desert and bringing, uniting the galaxy. But well, I'm sorry that your son does that to himself. I will say the beachside fight where the speedster's letting her thing off. That is a good fight scene. That is one of the better fights.
I honestly, they did the best they could. I think the Eternals have a cool lore in the comics sometimes, but after a while, you do realize there's a lot of stuff where it's like, how come the Asgardians didn't wipe these guys out? Or how come the Celestials didn't kill Odin when they showed up? And it's just always been too much. It's not enough cosmic faring for it to be good in the comics, and it's not enough Earth level for me to even give a hell. Like when they all died in the comics, I was like, eh.
well, I mean, when they made that movie, I think everyone was like, meh. People don't really know who they are, and that's kind of like I think that should have proven into Feige and all the guys that you can't make any comic book movie. It has to have a fan base.
Yeah, 100%. You've been saying it for years. People, well, again, they did give us some stuff that I thought when they made Jessica Jones, I was like, nobody wants to see this. But then I was watching, I was like, everybody wants to see this.
But you know what I think? You know what I think the difference on that one is, though.
What? Oh, sex?
So it's not just that. It's not just that she's a chick, but I think free. It's essentially free on Netflix as opposed to going to buy a ticket in the theater.
I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. And so obviously, if I'm bored, I'll put anything on Netflix. You wouldn't believe the stuff I put on Netflix, right?
Well, you pay for Netflix.
I know, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Since I pay a flat fee, I might as well have it on.
That's
might as well watch something, right?
I think Netflix operates on the reverse philosophy of a Spanger or a freeloader. You know how a freeloader is always hoping for a bust down on the Chinese food? Well, Netflix is always hoping you forget that $19.99 they're pulling out of your account, and you just sit and you're like, oh, I didn't know I still had this. Okay,
whatever. Well, all these guys do it. Just like, the subways, the Metro card, the real money they're making is on everyone who has 35 cents left on their Metro card, and they throw it away.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get to our good brother Tyrann Magnus.
If that's how you choose to pronounce it, I will not judge you. Me and Steve are having a little argument whether it's Tyrone or Tyrann. I've never even heard Tyrann. I don't even think that's a name.
It's Tyrann. I promise you, man. I'm fluent in this stuff, bro.
Well, I thought he wasn't black. I thought he was Dominican.
No, I told you he was black. You're the one that keeps saying he's Dominican.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting whether he's Dominican or not Dominican.
Yeah, the colorism, the everything involved in that statement is amazing. But you brought this to my attention. First of all, let's start here. Tyrann Magnus, The Last of Us Part 3 is canceled. He's going to report on this, and we're going to watch this. Did you play The Last of Us 1 or 2?
I played 1.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't play 2, and here's the thing. At the time, I wasn't playing many video games, and I didn't have a console. Like the console I had died. Right. That was the one that Zeus gave me, and so he gave me like a secondhand one, and so I wasn't into games anyway. But I also kind of felt the vibe of not protesting, but hating on what I heard was going to happen in the game.
Right. I haven't played any of them, but I didn't even understand what everyone was upset about when the second one was coming out. And then obviously with the power of YouTube and, living vicariously through someone else's gameplay, I found out why everyone was mad. And it wasn't just because it was a masculine female character. That was something that some commentators picked up on, but we all know why they were mad. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet, but apparently Tyrann is going to tell us here that they're not making a part 3. And I don't know if I care. Because I don't have the type of time it requires to play those type of games, Mantis. That is a very, very long game.
That's the thing. I'm not trying to say I'm old, but as you get older, you have less and less time for shenanigans, and so that's why I like my Tony Hawk's games. That's why I like Fallen Order. You're just whacking things, right? Oh yeah. Here, let's let Tyrone take us in.
Oh boy. Oh no. Oh man. And let me sell fear.
That is funny.
I don't care. So the Druckmeister, as I fondly call him, said this about The Last of Us Part 3.
He does look very
Quote,
good.
I guess the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it. I, as a fan of the first one, and who thought that the second one was absolute blasphemy, don't care. Because if you're going to carry on what you've been doing, doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't play the third one anyway, unless it was a prequel, because Joel's not in it.
So, we see what he's boycotting, and I expressed that I was sort of pseudo boycotting the second one as well, right? But he looks like he is an even stronger feeling that because of the second one, he would not go on to a third one. What do you think of people who have that kind of vigor for that?
Okay, because I understand that vigor, right? If you showed up to the game because you enjoyed the dynamic of Joel and the young lady, and you enjoyed playing as Joel, you enjoyed his story, and then his unceremonious death, spoiler alert for a game that's mad old, Joel gets beaten to death in his second game, and that's it. And literally, you're just playing with the girl. And I'm sorry, I don't know her name because I don't play the game myself. I could understand why he would feel this way. I don't have to enjoy it. It's like you always say, I'm not obligated to continue. This was the reason I played the game. I enjoyed this dynamic. I'm not interested in where the story goes. And apparently a lot of people felt that way. Now you could write it off for, sexism and all that stuff. But let me put it to you this way. Kratos, God of War. You're aware that he has a son now, Atreyu, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I love those games, man. But I doubt that I will buy it. But if Kratos would have died and God of War Ragnarok, and they're like, get ready to play as his son, I'm like, get ready for me not to spend my money on that one. Because that's not what I'm coming here for, bro. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like Kratos' story. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. That's it for me.
I agree. A lot of franchises try to do that. I don't know why, because it's not like the actor's going to cost any more money if you keep the series going. But they try to swap. I remember Metal Gear for a while. There was trying to replace Snake with Raiden, and it's like, no, who wants Raiden?
Yeah, I don't even understand how he became a robot. I don't care.
Well, the Metal Gear is notoriously like. The story notoriously doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I found it hilarious last week when you told me that guy had commentary about Captain America.
He was trying to tell the writers of Captain America how to write. Okay.
See, I made a video a long time ago, a few years ago, that talked about how gameplay is really the only thing that matters. However, there are exceptions to the rule. Okay. This game may have been a technological marvel for the PS4. The fact of the matter is, it's a story-driven game. Okay. And you got to have a good story to make me want to buy the sequel or even the prequel to this game. This story totally traumatized people.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were pissed.
It was twisted.
Yeah.
Dark, morbid, weird. And it was agenda pushing. The first one wasn't. First one wasn't even like that. And anyone didn't like the second one, got called every istophobe in the book. They were lied on, like myself, when I have, in several videos, taken up for, defended, and even praised many members of the LGBTQ plus AI community. As a matter of fact, if you watch my gameplay of when they first revealed that Ellie was gay, I commended them for breaking down barriers.
Oh, wow.
So
I don't believe him, but okay. I noticed you were laughing. Do you not believe that he sometimes praises the LGBT plus IA?
It's just how, man, you just think about what has happened from 2016 to now, right? Leading through COVID, during the real crucible of the whole thing, man. Like, listen, man, I'll never make an excuse for someone saying outright hateful stuff, but I will take you on a journey of how they probably got there. If there's a trail to be found, we got to take the trail into consideration. Now, remember, man, I'm talking about internet hate. I'm not talking about bashing someone's head in on the street.
Right.
LGBTQ a rally, but I get where he's coming from because he's looking at it from a game aspect. He was probably knee deep in the game and the story, and that was probably a shocking moment when Joel got beat to death. Not shocking that Ellie turned out to be gay, right? Not shocking. But when the main character gets beat to death in the room, have you ever seen the scene when he gets beaten to death?
I could not bring myself to watch that. I couldn't.
Bro, it's Negan level, not traumatizing. I didn't lose any sleep over it, but it was that type of stuff where you're just like, what? But it wasn't as cool as Walking Dead.
And you basically want to criticize it, and I want to criticize a game that's like 7 years old or something, right? It isn't new. This is my review of Last of Us Part 2, right?
Right.
But basically, this is the problem, and it certainly didn't start with Star Wars: The Last Jedi, but that's one of the problems going on here. We've hit this stage where people are trying to attack your expectations, right? Or like flip it on your head, and they'll be like, you'll never know, never guess what I'm gonna do. What? Kill the main character. Yeah, they'll be like, and she finds Luke Skywalker. And what? He's like a Jedi Master? No, he's a drunk ass bitch who lives alone and is scared of his own shadow. And it's like, and he wants to destroy your expectations. And it's like, but what is the point when you're vandalizing your own story?
Right.
And so, for instance, like this breaks. I don't like saying rule because I don't believe there should be rules to writing, but it breaks the something that helps the audience along. Picking a protagonist, right? You pick the protagonist, and the reason why we're following the protagonist is his journey has something to say about something.
Yeah.
Then halfway through it, you say, you know what? His journey meant nothing.
Yeah. His journey
He's just a punk ass fool who should die.
Yeah.
We're going to get a thrill kill from him.
Speak on that, because I was just about to say, you have to differentiate between a character's journey coming to an end, because people will be okay with the main character dying if it's like, holy smokes, man, okay. You know what I'm saying? How many deaths were like that in Game of Thrones where you're like, okay, that had to happen, but go back to that point about the thrill seeking. Like, what do you think, man?
It's for a cheap thrill, and that's the only reason why they would make it so brutal. And so they claim that it was supposed to be. What was it? They're like, we wanted to teach people a lesson about the cycle of vengeance or whatever, and all that. Here's one of the problems: is we understand that Joel was a mercenary and a scumbag for years, and he had caused his own death by hurting these other people. However, when he saved Ellie at the end of 1, that was his redeeming moment. That's when the audience said, I like this guy. He deserves to live.
Right.
He's a sinner before God, but he deserves salvation. There's still good in him. He's trying.
Preach, Beth.
And so then they took that away from him, that ability to be redeemed.
Yeah.
In the story, because obviously none of these people are, none of these people are really being redeemed because they're not seeking Jesus. But I'm saying, in terms of a storyline, you have robbed him of his redemption that he had just proven he was worthy of, just for a cheap thrill.
Yeah, and then you send Ellie on a mission to kill this woman who I, by the way, do not care that the character was masculine. I'm not in that fight. I don't have a problem with muscular women. Like, when I say I don't have a problem, I don't want you to be taking steroids, but I'm not intimidated. I'll still double leg you, take you down, and choke you out. And show I'm not intimidated by that.
Steve the Christian talking about how he'll jujitsu any woman who's in his face. Okay.
No, I'm talking about in a competitive aspect. But no, that didn't bother me. But then you send her on this mission where it's like, what is this story about, really? Right? And it's no longer about this father figure and this daughter figure moving through this post-apocalyptic world, dealing with issues. It then became a vengeance story within the vengeance story, and it didn't land well because it wasn't a great story. I think if you wanted to do something like that, it could have been done better. Joel had to make a hard choice, as I remember at the end of part 1, of saving Ellie and killing a bunch of people who were trying to get an antidote from her. Now, that is the type of writing where it's like, do you save one child or do you save the world? Do you let them butcher the child down to the bone marrow, or do you get the child out of it?
Right.
That type of stuff.
That's a great character arc. That's a great challenge for them to go through. And yeah, they ruined it all, man. They absolutely ruined it all. I don't know what else to say about these guys. And they got the series coming up, and you were just talking about how the masculine nature of the video game character. So Abby in the video game is jacked. She's jacked to the point where people thought originally before it was released, they thought she was a trans character.
Yeah, I remember that whole hoopla. Yeah.
And so what's funny is the show has cast the lovely Caitlin Dever. I love that actress to play her. And I thought she was going to get, jacked up for the role. I thought she was going to be working out. She was, get her superhero body on. Didn't do it. On all the scenes, they're showing scenes of the coming up season for the show. She is not jacked at all. And they asked the guys, and they said, we believe that the audience, in order for people to accept Abby, we need to see a more gentler side to her. And basically what they're saying is if she's
right.
If she's a manly chick, audiences will be mean to her. But if she's a feminine chick, audiences will be nicer to her. That's what I took that to mean.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then also, I'll leave room for ignorance, right? People are ignorant towards these things because you got the perfect jambalaya of think about when the game came out, think about the climate, think about the narratives that are being pushed right and left towards each other, and then it makes its way into the video game world, and all of a sudden you're watching a muscular woman beat Joel to death. And it's like, it's the worst nightmare of everyone on the right who probably doesn't even play video games. And it's, all they see is a bunch of lesbians being happy. Like, it was the perfect storm, man. I'm telling you, I watched this whole thing unfold as you did on the internet, and I'm with Tyron, man. I don't care. Now, if you are a fan of this franchise, and let's say you enjoyed part 2, right? If this, is heartbreaking to you, then I'm sorry. I don't personally care, but I'm sorry. I know the frustration of not getting an end to a title if this doesn't come about. You know what I'm saying? Like Sarah Connor Chronicles. I'm still not over that.
They canceled it in the middle of a storyline. I remember being really disappointed that I forget what storyline it was, but some stuff was happening, and it ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, they went to the future, and I was like, what the heck is going on, man? I get it, bro. I get it. Do you cancel it, Mantis, or do you let it go Game of Thrones last season? That's the real question.
So, that's well, I would never let anything go Game of Thrones last season. I'd burn it. I'd burn the studio down before I let that happen. But here's what it is. I think if I would make sure to make a third game, and the main reason why, my understanding is they didn't finish the storyline, the main storyline that Ellie is the cure to save the world. I think that I didn't play the second one, but I understand they didn't finish that storyline, right? I believe that's it. And I think we're owed that. I would end it on that. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I ultimately would do as a writer? I would have made her go on some crazy adventure, and at the end, she finds these scientists or whatever, and she has to make the choice whether to sacrifice herself, and she chooses to sacrifice herself, and therefore, it's a good sacrifice. Pilgrim's Journey, man. The hero's journey comes to an end, saves the world. That's good stuff. That hurts. This is not a part about this topic, but how ironic that here we are thinking, we might never get a Last of Us 3, and we might also never get a Spider-Man Across the Universe, Spider-Verse, whatever it is, part 3 as well. Also, that potentially has been delayed again. Oh, no, we've got to. And they also ended on a cliffhanger, right? No, we've got to, man. I love that. I love that series. Yeah, it was pretty good. So there was some sound issues with. I don't know if you noticed this with the second movie. Like watch it again and you'll notice that there's some mixing issues. Like Sony gave up on the budget where it's supposed to be mixed properly, but that's neither here nor there. Tyron, thank you for this, man. Whatever your name is, thank you. And I was thinking that maybe we could check out the Andor trailer. Oh, this is going to be a little bit of a tease for those of you joining us in the audio realm. But for those of you enjoying the video with us, hey, thanks for being classy. Got the Andor trailer, season 2 coming. And season 2 is coming. There's going to be 12 episodes, just like the last season. And they're going to, every week, they are going to drop 3 episodes. Oh, so we're expected to binge watch 3 episodes of Andor a week. And what they're going to do is every 3 episodes will be its own little mini movie.
Oh wow!
And then it's going to do a time jump to the next one, and it's going to be the next several years of his life leading up to Rogue One.
I like this idea, mini movie. So in other words, we won't be getting an Andor season 3. Okay. Right. Do you now? Usually, you have an adverse effect to this type of dump. You're like, must mean the product is bad, but you don't seem that scared.
So here's what it is. I liked Andor season 1, so I'm gonna probably like this is a show that I'm glad is coming back. I mean, finally something's coming back. Nothing ever gets second seasons,
right?
But ever since Disney Plus took over, right? So Disney Plus is making all these first seasons of stuff and not continuing the story. So I'm happy to see it return. I'm happy to see it go on. And I it's funny that you say that, because originally these were meant to be their own seasons.
Right.
They're going to be the main plots of seasons, but once again, because of the way Disney is, they're like, just wrap it up.
Yeah. They're like, just be done with it. It's funny, man, because I know it wasn't like the most widely watched show, but they recognized that the fans enjoyed it, so they decided not to do what they did to the Acolyte. And they're like, hey, we're gonna, because there was no real controversy around this. There was no controversy around Andor. No
controversy at all. And so, and once again, this is part of one of the better non-saga movies. Everyone can. Most people like the original trilogy, right? And then there's a bunch of people, not everyone, who loves the prequels, right?
Right.
Sequels, there's like 5 of you. But also, what's strange is what's universally loved is Rogue One.
Oh, of course, it was the thing that kicked everything off, man. Why would I go see Rogue One? And there's like lightsaber scene at the end of the movie, but everything leading up to it, I was like, wow, there is really a lot going on in this universe that I've never paid attention to, and it's amazing, and it was well acted. Oh, you're a genius. I know what happened to the Eternals. I know I said I knew what happened the last time. I just figured it out. Kevin Feige sat down and watched Rogue One, and he was like, where's our Rogue One? And he didn't realize that Winter Soldier was their Rogue One.
Yes, Winter Soldier was definitely their Rogue One.
He thought that he could make a Rogue One with Eternals.
Yes, he definitely did. He tried to flip it. He tried to flip the script, and he's like, he's like, this is gonna be different. It's gonna be artsy. It's gonna be gritty. It's gonna be real. It's gonna be in your face. It was none of those things. I know we're harping on this, but I think I told you before that my cure for both the Eternals and Thor Love and Thunder is that those movies should have been smushed together into one. It should have been a Thor movie.
Yeah, I like that.
Called Thor and the Eternals, and it should be about Thor discovering that there's another deities that he didn't know about hiding on Earth.
Yeah.
Known as the Eternals. And then at the end, since what's his name? Icarus is like a Superman clone, like ripoff, it can essentially be Thor versus Superman.
Yeah, that
would be awesome finale.
And which would have been even more amazing, because if Gore the God Butcher would have actually been the villain of that and been a God Butcher, we could have watched him kill every Eternal as he tried.
Yeah. But let's see what's going on in the Andor version. We're over here killing the Eternals.
Emergency broadcast. If you can hear me.
Patience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I have to say, I am even more gassed than I was originally. That has hyped me up. I am at a 12 right now.
Is that your first time seeing it? Was that the first time you saw it?
You know what's funny? I remember seeing it, but I probably had it on like in the background or I was doing something else. Here's what it is. I very rarely actively watch things. I'm often working while the TV is on.
Right.
And so I probably really didn't pay attention, because I remember seeing that ship and all this, in the wheat fields or whatever, but this was amazing looking.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I didn't watch one episode of season 1, but I'll probably go back and watch season 1 just to enjoy this. It was really good. The scale looked amazing. I asked you to pause it just because I had to make a joke, and it's not funny. that woman, Senator, man, she's like an ageless character. Every person. Here's the crazy thing. Everyone that's played her, and it's only been 2 people, but you're telling me that's not a lizard person? You're telling me that's not the same person?
No, you're right. You're right, because like obviously there's a woman in the 70s who played her, right?
Yeah.
And then they have this new actress, and what's funny, what's totally crazy, I feel they dropped the ball or whatever. So the Andor series takes place before the trilogy, right? Before the original trilogy, right? And so this is, this is back in the day. And then that same actress plays her in Ahsoka. There's a scene in Ahsoka in the courtroom where she's there, and she hasn't aged a day, and that takes place like 30 years later.
She's a vampire. She's a Star Wars vampire.
I don't know. That is funny that I was like, they didn't think to age her. They couldn't even put in old, the old man makeup.
No. She's an alien. She's an alien.
I mean, yeah, that's wild. So you didn't watch season 1?
No, I didn't watch season 1. It wasn't because of any controversy or anything like that. I was just like, man, there was a bunch of other stuff I think I was trying to do or watch. I think Spoon was popping off, so I didn't really have much time for anything like that.
Okay, so good. I'm not going to say anything because I was going to. There's a certain question about a certain character. There's like this theory, but I'm not going to pop it off right now.
It doesn't matter. You could pop it off. What's the question?
So, in it, he has a mentor. He's a mentor who recruits him for the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah,
there's a belief that the old guy is a Jedi. He hasn't like popped a lightsaber around or anything, but he's way too smooth, and he knows things, and he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
Super charismatic, can't explain how he gets in and out of places.
Yeah. Okay, and he does this one monologue about it's crazy. Like they're like, one guy's like, I've given up so much for this. What have you given up? He's like, what do you mean? What have I given up? Every night's sleep since the Emperor took to power. He's like, I now say goodnight to ghosts of friends I will never see again. And he goes on this crazy, it's an amazing monologue about all the things he's lost. And it made me think, I was like, this dude's a Jedi.
He's gotta be a Jedi. You know what's crazy, man? They just won't do the obvious thing though, man. Why have we not gotten a Palpatine show? Young Palpatine.
Oh my god. And so this is probably one of my complaints probably about the Acolyte now. I'm a fan of the Acolyte. Let's not and obviously I'm an advocate for a second season of Acolyte. And that was going to be some sort of vehicle to showing Darth Plagueis, and I assume eventually a young Palpatine.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I could go back in time and like rewrite everything, they should have just skipped to young Palpatine. That dog would have hunt.
Yeah.
People would have watched it. We could have Plagueis, we could have him learning the ways of the Sith.
And it's a little bit of everything for everyone, because according to the stories, from what I understand, there's a lot of political subterfuge going on in Palpatine's life, and you could have had that same feel as Andor and brought a lot of those people over. But as you know, Disney's not in the habit of doing things like that.
Some of these things are no-brainers. They were literally no-brainers, and somehow they mess it up. And we're about to put on a video of a person who's very critical of Disney. He's the most famous person for being critical of Disney ever. But I agree that a young Palpatine would be an amazing and probably impossible to fail show.
You have to be trying. Like, you have to be in the boardroom doing coke. Like, get Brie Larson in here now.
and another thing I never understood is why didn't they do a Luke Skywalker Jedi Academy of him training at his school? They could get Sebastian Stan to play him. It's all there.
You've said that enough, man, where it's like, now I can't picture anyone else. I'm like, yeah, why did we need a digital version? The audience would have gone crazy to see Sebastian Stan, and he could probably use the money. Not saying he's not making good money in the MCU, but I'm sure he's sick of playing Bucky.
I'm sure he's sick of playing Bucky, especially because Bucky is like, don't get me started, but Bucky should be at least like the co-star in some of these movies, and like at this point, he's just cameoing in movies.
Even though I did enjoy his cameo in Captain America, especially the speech part. He was like, "Did your speech writer say that?"
That was funny because as he said it, I was like, "That's so cheesy." It's just
it's emotional, just enough.
I mean, if I had written the movie, I would have actually had him a character in there.
Yeah.
But we still haven't seen Thunderbolts. We don't really know what they got planned. Maybe it's a good plan.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to see that together because I told my son, I'm like, this is probably not going to be a movie for you. I'm thinking it's kind of, going to be Suicide Squad-ish. Your illegitimate son, pending the DNA test. Star Wars theory. Talking about your favorite female power boss, girl boss executive, Kathleen Kennedy, who recently some news broke that she may be stepping down at the end of this year. And what people are perceiving as a cleanup exercise, she came out and did an interview stating that she's not retiring. It's a lot. It's convoluted. What were your thoughts about her potentially retiring? And then this we'll get into this.
So it's funny that I'm going to start this with a gendered language, but a real man knows when he's defeated. That's actually like a saying. I think we all know it. Meaning, if you're one of those loudmouths and you get into a fist fight with somebody and they beat you, you need to just be like, okay, I lost, and move on, and not be some vengeful fool. Kathleen Kennedy has lost so many times in the past that she should have left years ago, and it would have been the honorable thing.
Right.
She's filthy rich. She's so rich. She could have been like, I'm retiring early.
Right.
I'm leaving. I'll see you guys around. Right. And we wouldn't have faulted her. Obviously, the internet would have made fun of her, but that would pass. That would go away. Yeah. Why is she sticking around? And here's the thing. If she's sticking around longer just because we found out that she was leaving, just like to spite us, then she's a truly evil woman. Truly evil.
I concur, man. It's like when I found out she was leaving, I was like, bow out gracefully. You know what I'm saying? Like your name, even if you're not retiring from making films, you're just stepping away from Star Wars. You know how toxic the fan base is. You've said it. The Force is female, and they rejected that notion. So it's
and that's what I'm saying. And also, if she clearly doesn't have love for the franchise because she keeps vandalizing it, why doesn't she just go to a different type of movie? She could make some other type of movie. You know what I mean?
Blake Lively is looking for a producer right now.
Oh no, I mean you're right, but by the way, I really hope she wins. I'm a huge. Here's what it is. I'm a huge Blake Lively beating Nice Pool kind of a guy. But let's see what my illegitimate son has to say.
With an iconic IP. Ooh, I'm excited for this answer.
I've been looking forward to this.
Half an hour before we went live yesterday on the Nerd Theory reunion with Josh and Stoops and Dash, Kathleen Kennedy released a statement on Deadline, basically talking about how she's not leaving.
Thank you for destroying
It's kind of sad that we have to tear it down. That's the thing about movies. I'm always like, really? We built this amazing thing and now we have to tear it down.
We're going to go over it today. I personally, and as I stated in the live stream, I believe it's BS. I believe it's PR, typical Hollywood BS. We're going to go over what I think it means, which is essentially she announced that she is leaving. What that could mean for the future of Star Wars, I really don't know, because it depends on who comes in and replaces. But at the end of the day, she is leaving, and we all need to understand that. I thought I'd seen it all in trade journalism, but the piranha-like frenzy on Kathleen Kennedy and the successor speculation that followed Matt Baloney's Puck report that Disney was putting her out to pasture is a new one on me. Baloney for years has been beating on Kennedy like she owes him money, and this week he reported Kennedy was retiring. I recall he essentially did the same thing more than a year ago.
This is a publication.
Here she still is, producing the Mandalorian movie and prepping with a Sean Levy-directed Star Wars film that Ryan Gosling is circling, as well as numerous other films and streaming projects with A-list participants. A-list. Okay. Yeah. Because that's really what we need in Star Wars. A-list, right? We really need Ryan Gosling in Star Wars. Nothing against Ryan Gosling. I've been a fan of him since
I actually don't hate it.
But that's not what Star Wars needs. Star Wars needs vision. They need somebody who cares, someone who understands the stories. It sounds like a broken record. According to insiders, Kennedy has been working...
I just want to point out that, like, he's saying this and all this stuff, but, like, it's true, like, nobody was famous in the original one. Even James Earl Jones wasn't that famous. But in the prequels, Ewan McGregor was already a famous actor. Samuel Jackson was a huge actor at the time.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's not like it ruined Star Wars to have celebrities there.
No, but I do understand what you're saying. Like, the vision has to be huge. You're gonna bring this huge actor in. Make sure that you bring that actor in, not because that's to save Star Wars, but because you're bringing him in for what's going to be an amazing role that has vision.
I agree.
Working on a succession plan for a couple years, eyeing candidates from within a process, and it would be remiss if it did not reiterate what someone from the stream said. Can't remember who it was, that Leslie Headland could have possibly been the stand-in for Kathleen Kennedy once she steps out.
I think it's canon that R2D2 is a lesbian.
What?
I would probably...
If you'll excuse me. Another happy landing.
I would probably walk away from the brand entirely. Like, I'd still have the channel. I would just literally completely focus on everything that George did. She's been looking for a successor, essentially, is what they are confirming, which literally means that she knows that she is stepping out as of a few years ago, where she's been looking for someone to take her place.
You ever hear the tragedy of
Kathleen Kennedy?
And eyeing who this is going to be. And I'm thinking she's
That was
probably
good.
going to land on either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
I must have liked him because he got hired.
Because I don't think anyone else knows the brand. Listen to this. Knows
Sorry, guys.
I love this game.
the brand as well as they do in her mind. Right? She doesn't know anything about Star Wars. Clearly, she doesn't even know we have source material.
We don't have source material.
no?
You know when you like don't know much about, let's say, geology, and there's that kid who like reads a whole bunch of geology books. I'm not saying that's Dave Filoni. To you, who knows nothing about rocks and stones and the earth, this kid is like a genius and knows everything about it. That's, to her, probably what Dave Filoni is, where she's like, this guy knows exactly what needs to be done. The fans love him. George loves him. So it's probably going to be best in his control. That is my thinking. I personally think that it's going to be best in the hands of Jon Favreau, with Dave Filoni helping when it comes to lore, characters, this, that, and the other thing. My trust.
For some reason, him as Sidious just popped into my head, and that's an amazing skit. I think I'm just gonna say the obvious thing, man. I think they should hire this guy to make a film. I think they should hire him to do a series, man. Like, you want to, bro? I'm just telling you, I believe that this man loves it enough and has the talent to do it. But they'll never do that because it's too far gone now.
So I'm gonna actually surprisingly, I'm gonna second that. If it's like one series or it's one movie, then yeah, that's fine. I don't think he should be the head of Star Wars because they're gonna make everything about Anakin. But yeah, I think he definitely make a good movie. Or making, here's what it is: if he's a, what do they call it, the big picture guy? If he tells them the big things that should happen in a movie, or you know, he's there to spot check movies, like he'd be like, that would never happen, or no, that shouldn't happen. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the guy with the rubber bands connecting everything together. Yeah, that's perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
Justin Dave Filoni has kind of been shaken, and it's really upsetting me to say that, but I kind of have to face the music. Really, after The Acolyte, I have a really hard time continuing to fight for him and endorse him, and it's just cool. Like, what was that decision with Ahsoka at the end there? You know, what's going on with Mando 3? What's going on with Book of Boba Fett? How did he allow The Acolyte to even be a thing, to even happen? How did he even greenlight Plagueis to be put in there? And apparently he did greenlight it, from what Leslie Headland was saying, essentially making him the scapegoat.
I don't know what to say.
I admire Baloney's hustle and ability to turn over hard ground, but his penchant for defining industry people like Kennedy in disparaging ways, well, I just don't understand that. I didn't appreciate it when Deadline founder Nikki Fink did it here, and it feels like the appetite for Schadenfreude is nowhere near as high now. Kennedy would seem an unlikely target for ire in good times or bad. 13 years into her run, steering Lucasfilm has done much with the challenge of trying to broaden George Lucas's Star Wars vision after Disney bought it from him for $4 billion in cash and stock in 2012. It's a challenge Amazon now will try with James Bond after purchasing creative. How much did Disney pay Deadline for this article? We need to get this out ASAP before Nerd Theory.
Execute Order 66.
Crazy, man. This guy's just glazing the shit out of her.
Only money.
I really question what anyone would be able to argue when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy and her inability to control Star Wars, or even like what this dude is claiming she does, which is expand Star Wars with George's vision. Man, she's put the blinders on. She's shut the eyes of any vision whatsoever. Not only has she not allowed it to expand in any sort of vision, she had literally killed off the main characters. And if she hasn't, she's made them pathetic.
That is some weak-ass bullshit.
Essentially what she's done. Kennedy arguably is the most successful female producer executive in Hollywood history. She has produced more than 70 films and have collected 120 Oscar nominations and 25 wins. And she herself was awarded the honorary Oscar with the Irving G. Thalberg Memorial. It doesn't matter. What matters at the end of the day is what she's done with the brand. Okay, you're only as good as your last project.
That was funny. The bitter straight out of Mantis' book. He must be my son. But real quick, I want to go over this list.
Okay.
If you see, because he avoided reading the list because he didn't want to point out how like epic this woman is.
Yeah.
So she has been a producer on Jurassic Park, The Sixth Sense, the Indiana Jones franchise, E.T., Munich, Lincoln, The Color Purple, War of the Worlds, Poltergeist, Schindler's List. I mean, the woman knows movies.
Can I just point something out though, man? And that's an impressive list. Did I ever tell you that I worked for a producer? And he's made some films that have done extremely, extremely well. And when I asked him exactly what his involvement was, he signs the checks. So what type of producer was she exactly? Right. Creative producer, like that's the
Here's what I'm saying. You are right. There is a range of like what a producer is, and sometimes two people could have the same title. One person does like nothing, and one person does everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying she is involved. I'm not suggesting that she's the reason any of those movies are great. But what I am saying is she's been in the business, the high end of the business for years.
Absolutely. I would concur. And that's, again, impressive resume. And let's not forget, The Force Awakens was a hit. It was a hit. People were excited after that. And even some of the angry, sexist, racist, and I don't like those ist words, man, but you know who you are on the dark side of Facebook when that movie came out. You guys were excited too. She just managed the business poorly, right?
Women. All right, guys, I could not resist. I couldn't resist. But let's see what my son's got to say.
Picture that they're painting facade of, we were able to catch her on her busy schedule as she was going off to the Oscars to be awarded. That, like trying to essentially denounce anyone's claim against Kathleen Kennedy's horrible presidential rule over Lucasfilm and over what George created. Look, I started out this channel for years and years being super optimistic, super happy-go-lucky. I mean, I was called a shill so many times because I was so positive and I was so believing that we were literally in good hands, only to come to realize that, everyone was right. We aren't in good hands. We haven't been in good hands. Once I finally realized that, it's clear as day as to what exactly is going on over there.
So it's so funny. Like, one, I will say, I was like that too. I was toxically positive during the first couple of movies, even up until the third one of the new trilogy. I wanted to believe it was good. I didn't want to believe it was bad. I was sticking to my guns,
right?
Trying to convince myself. When The Rise of Skywalker came to Disney Plus, I watched that thing like 10 times.
Just looking for something good, right?
Looking for something, something to, it's like you're trying to rekindle an old love and it's just not there. But what's funny is this kid, he talks like a man who used to be in love, and that bitch broke his heart.
Yeah, she was in rehab and she just won't get clean. Man, here's the thing about it too, man. I remember we were getting to some lively at best, heated at worst conversations about retcons. And I stand on this, man. You know why a lot of this stuff fails? Because we know where it leads, man. In the back of your mind, man, you know it leads to herpes. You know it leads to herpes, right? No matter how good the show is, whatever part of the timeline, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all of it, it all ends in herpes, man. It ends in that dreadful trilogy, bro.
No, wait, hold on. But So I think of the words of the character Dale from Greek, and so he's a fanatical Christian, and he's also a scientist. And people are like, "Do you think you can compartmentalize that?" And he says, "I believe in both creationism and science. My mind is a powerful thing." So, I believe that I can do the mental gymnastics,
right,
to make the future of Luke not a thing.
Yeah, by retconning it.
No, not by retconning it, but just by belief. So basically, here's what I'm saying: they could do a Luke Jedi Academy show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as it ends, nothing happens after that. It's like happily ever after. Boom.
Yeah, that's a retcon.
You don't wait on. You don't do that with your own headcanon?
No, man, because look, headcanon or not, man, I feel like there's a certain level when you're attached to something that ends badly, no matter what, you can't escape it. Look at the first season of House of Dragon and then look at the second season. And I know what happened. I know what happened. We all know how it ends. And no matter how hard they try, that train is headed towards syphilis in regards to freaking Game of Thrones. And this is headed towards herpes, man.
You must really hate prequels. You must really hate prequels.
I love prequels when the ending is amazing. But if the ending is horrible, I don't want the prequel because you know what it does? It hurts me emotionally. Even if the prequel is good, I'm like, man, that was great. Normally, in that response, you wouldn't want, I'm going to go watch the other movies. If the prequel is great, are you going to go watch the sequel trilogy? Like,
right.
You're not going to do it. Stop being an apologist, man. Herpes and syphilis are bad things. And people who have them...
I do not apologize for those things.
People who have them did bad things to get them.
They're not all bad. They were just trying to love. Isn't love just love? Isn't love just love, and God is love, and it's all good? That's what somebody told me at my Lenten supper the other day at church.
No, are you serious?
Yes, they were a septuagenarian, meaning someone in their 70s, and me and someone else were talking about some Bible theory, and this person came up and they said, "Don't you guys understand? God is love." So I kind of giggled, and I didn't want to put this person in their place and be like, thank you. I didn't realize that. Now all our problems are solved, understanding the greater sense of it all. Why can't anyone else ever think of that?
It's funny because they just ignore his other attributes. This is a 30-minute long video, but it does, I think he surmised it extremely well. She's stepping down, man. I think this was damage control. You know what I'm saying? I really do think this was just damage control, and they want to control the narrative for her leaving. Because what they can't do, Mantis, is make you right. And when I say you, I mean the you that you represent on the internet. Everyone that's jumped ship, everyone they've typecasted into that bubble where there are some people who should exist there, where this was just a culture war thing. But facts are facts, man. The story is lacking. Right? The story's lacking bad. And for once in life, maybe the intern isn't the reason everything's falling apart. Maybe it's the boss. Maybe we need to fire the boss.
No, well, I'm saying, right? So, like, if a movie flops, it's the director who's responsible. But if a movie is great, it's the one who wins the award is the director, right? And at the end of the day, you have to choose, the person, the head. She's the head of it all, which means she has to take the good and the bad. So when Force Awakens made $2 billion, that's her victory. Everything else that went on terribly bad is on her. She should have been fired a while ago.
Bro, could you imagine if they would have made Leslie Headland the...
You know what's crazy? The fact that he said that, it never even occurred to me. But you know what? I bet they were hoping that. And I bet that was the plan. I bet that was Kathleen Kennedy's plan. And actually, we might need to, thank Filoni for stopping that.
Yeah, maybe that's why he let all those things happen. He was like, "Oh, lesbian witches, do it."
He's like, "I don't think they're lesbian enough." He's encouraging her to do more crazy stuff, and he'll be like, "Yo, okay, what if we take out all the white people and everyone's a minority. It's like, also, could we get some pronouns?
A double helping, please. Double helping of that.
And I want to remind our listeners, the Fat Mantis. I had nothing wrong with that series. I didn't hate any of those choices, but we all admit those choices definitely contributed to the audience turning on it.
Yeah. That wrong time, man. And it has nothing to do with intrinsically respecting that the person's a human being. It has to do with how that might have impacted the quality of the show. And I get it, because I'm black. I know racism lurks everywhere. It's around the corner in Starbucks while I'm in the bathroom. Like, it's everywhere. But it's my job to make sure I'm looking at what's actually racism versus what I'm being told is racism.
Don't worry, there was a whole group of white Karens who are here to be your ally.
Until I say something like, you're a Nazi. we don't even have time to get into that. Listen, I don't know if we need to bleed this whole Avengers Doomsday thing, because I know how Campia, he has an impact on you. Last time we played a Campia video, it started off well. You made it through about 30 seconds. I saw you take a sip of wine, and then it was all downhill.
Well, you know, I'm growing. I'm learning. Let's see what Campia has to say. As long as we're on the Marvel Star Wars train right now, we might as well see what our buddy Campia has to say. For those who don't know, there were a bunch of leaks. Actually, this is considered the biggest leak in the history of the MCU, right?
Yeah.
And so a series of concept arts for various projects, some canceled, some still in the works. Some of them are Doomsday, Secret Wars, all sorts of stuff has leaked. And I think your man Campia has a video on it. Let's see what he's got to say.
And here's the crazy thing about it, man. I wonder how much of this is actually a planned leak. Like, it has to be at this point. Like, there has to be a way to they're trying to galvanize people into coming back.
You know what it is? Because the leaks were all pretty good, actually. And it definitely increased my faith that these movies could be good.
Yeah.
Especially with the picture of Doom. Oh, I like the picture of Doom.
Looks amazing. Real quick, while you're queuing that up, man, when I went to go see Captain America Brave New World for the second time, I have to admit, that scene of Red Hulk chasing him, it's even more epic the second time around. When I know what's happening, when my brain is kind of settled into what's happening in the movie, I'm like, man, that is the scariest, not scary, like I wasn't scared, but that was a thrilling moment, because you're really kind of worried for Sam. Like, in the food chain of superhero lore, the guy with wings and a jetpack.
Like I said, I like the movie. Not many complaints. I do wish there was a greater explanation as to how he survived.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. I have no problem with him defeating the Red Hulk. I just needed a little more explanation. I wish there was a little more gimmick to it. I actually thought he was going to somehow use adamantium.
Yeah, that would have made sense, right? Or maybe taking the serum, or even, it's funny because they compared the last scene. I watched a video where they compared the last scene of Falcon talking, Captain America talking to Red Hulk, and in the Incredible Hulk sequel movie. Remember when the bad guy that was Abomination walked up to the Hulk and he got front kicked? And people were like, it should have been the same thing. And then Sam took the serum after that. Like, that would have been amazing.
Would have been hysterical.
Anyway, let's see what Granddaddy Campia has to say from the great heroes of New America, aka.
With that down,
I can't wait.
Move on to this, shall we?
Tools.
There's been a lot of talk over the past little bit about Avengers Doomsday. There was the art that's come out. Still not sure 100% if that's legit or not.
So legit.
A lot of really interesting stuff in that art. Looked pretty cool. We already know that guys like Chris Evans is returning, but in which capacity and where and who he'll play and all kinds of stuff, don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's been coming out and been talking about. Well, there you might have seen, if you've gone through the news feeds today, a bunch of higher profile outlets like Comic Book Movie and others have been running with headlines that there have been some story details that have come out. And they run this headline: rumor, Avengers Doomsday spoilers reveal Dr. Doom's plan, Loki's role, and how Kang is replaced. Now, I am going to let you know that even though there is a question mark as to the validity of these reports and the rumors, we're going to discuss them. So they could potentially have spoilers or not at all. But I do want to give you guys that heads up that this is going to be a part of this report. So comicbookmovie.com and other outlets are quoting, I believe it's Cosmic Circus, who was originally the one that came up with it. And Comic Book Movie quoted and wrote out the following. Now, this is what they're saying is going to be the plot details. And if any of this sounds familiar, there's a reason for that. And Rob and I will talk about that in a second. Dr. Doom sets out to stop the incursions from happening, thereby avoiding a multiversal collapse. Like Thanos, he sees himself as the hero. Well, the Council of Kangs has obviously been dropped from a movie originally titled Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. It's not as simple as Marvel Studios swapping Kang for Dr. Doom. However, it's still a very similar story being told, and that's that the remaining heroes of the remaining worlds of the multiverse have to find a way to save their own universe, and how they go about doing that, even if it means the destruction of the other universes to save their own. All right. So one of the things, and it goes on in the report to say that some heroes from some of the worlds see Dr. Doom as a savior and all that kind of stuff. If any of that sounds familiar, it's because
comics.
Well, that is kind of the story in the comic.
Right.
The incursions are happening. Entire universes are getting destroyed. So if an incursion is happening between two worlds, if one world can destroy the other world first, then they save their own world. There's actually this great, one of my favorite kind of conflicts in all of comics is when the heroes of our world are realizing this incursion's happening. They're like, well, we got to destroy that other world. And like Captain America's like all the Illuminati are like, it sucks, but this is what we got to do. And Captain America stands at the head of the table. It's like, F no, we don't do that. We don't cross that line. It's like him against all the other members of the Illuminati. It's really, really cool stuff. Anyway, so Rob, a report like this comes out, and I am certainly not saying that I believe, once again, I believe the source was Cosmic Circus. I'm not suggesting somebody didn't tell this to Comic Circus. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm sure somebody did. But this just basically sounds like a very vague outline to the story that's already there.
So what do you think?
So thus far, if it is the incursions and with brevity, if they're doing what's happening in the comics, I'm cool with that, man. You know what my pain point is. If they're going to do evil Avengers, they're going to have to work really hard for me not to roll my eyes through the entire movie. Like, there's got to be something more than like, it's evil Captain America. Man, who saw that coming? Like, I'm just not here for it, man. I need, what made the incursions dope wasn't that they were alternate versions of the heroes. It was like what was happening. And in fact, you know what's crazy about the end of that? Time runs out. They didn't fight the Ultimate Universe until the end, almost the end of that arc, right? And the Ultimate Universe was in shambles anyway. They didn't have many heroes left except for Iron Man, I think, and like all of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's what I cared about, man. That, you know, that's I cared about the epic scale and the danger, not evil Captain America.
So here's the thing. I was just thinking about Civil War the other day, right? And so Civil War, good movie, very good movie.
Right.
Civil War, the comic, freaking amazing.
Yes.
Right? And so if you notice, they kind of took the vagaries of the comic and they were like, well, we'd have to do 7 movies to fit this in. So let's water it down into a movie. And, you know, that's sort of kind of, you know, in the same realm.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what these guys do. And that's what I think they're going to do, which is why when you scoff at things like evil Captain America, evil Dr. Doom, or not Dr. Doom, but evil Iron Man, that is Doom. Because that to me is so eye rolling.
The whole thing
is so gimmicky that he's Dr. Doom in another dimension. Come on, yo. Yeah. But here's what I'm saying. It seems like something they would do.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing with that being a potential, like a possibility. But since you brought up Civil War, they scaled that down to something that was effective, right? And none of that was the evil versions of the Avengers. Whenever we talk about this, I hear the voice from the Spider-Man cartoon when he was running around with Iceman and Firestar. Spider-Man and his amazing friend. But it all depends, as to your point, on how they scale it, right? I've always said if you can make it make sense, hell, you can shove a transgender person in there if you can make it make sense and make the story good. So if you can make evil Captain America something compelling, then obviously I won't eye roll if it's dope, right? The only thing that's going to save this whole thing if Blade saves the entire universe. I said it. It's got to be Blade.
I'm just saying that, like, I think not only could they do that, and by the way, I'm pro the whole Blade thing. Have you heard the updates on Blade?
Yeah, they're like Mahershala Ali and Kevin Feige agreed on the script. Yeah,
and they're moving forward. They're hiring a director.
Yeah.
They better fast track this. They better make this.
It needs to be fast track, quick, fast, in a hurry.
So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I just kind of, ultimately, I wish they never did the multiverse saga.
Yeah, or at least
wrong direction to take.
Yeah. Let me start by saying 100% agree with you, because if you weren't going to execute in a way that made sense, the multiverse, we've gone through this, we fixed it a few times. Let's fix it again. So you drop Captain America, you drop Falcon and Winter Soldier. That didn't need to happen, right? We could have gone right to Captain America, Brave New World. To be honest with you, the story could have been Bucky and Sam Wilson competing to become Captain America in a friendly way, and the conflict is the Red Hulk, which then takes us into Thunderbolts. Drop the Hawkeye thing, because you could have introduced Old Girl. Either way it goes, you could have introduced Scarlet Witch, Black Widow's sister. Whenever it should have really just been WandaVision, and then everything. WandaVision, Loki, Ant-Man, take that shit off the table unless he dies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're 100% right. These leaks, though, to this, nothing groundbreaking. The visuals are great, and it did what it was supposed to do, which are people are talking about the excitement. People are less, confused about the pick of Robert Downey Jr. They should have gone with the other guy, but yeah.
And then another thing I have to say is I really think they're probably going to do the interdimensional Black Panther will somehow stick around to be this main MCU Black Panther. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do.
Every time we talk about this subject,
I know he's angry. He's visibly angry. Thank God we're in different studios, because I can see you want to reach out and grab my neck.
No, I wouldn't take it out on you. It's just like, you're right, man. But you know what? The bones were there, man. There should have been more emphasis on Namor. He shouldn't have been introduced in Black Panther. Namor probably should have been introduced as like a villain somewhere else, showing that Atlantis was a world power. Where would you have placed him?
So what I would have done, my actual thought is, you take the skeleton of the story for Wakanda Forever, make it an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Make the entire Atlantis attacking. Yeah, I was actually call it Avengers Atlantis Attacks.
Yeah.
And I would make him a full, he's a true threat to the entire planet.
Mm.
And I would just have it where Shuri becomes Black Panther, in the course of these events. But they should really have other Avengers there. Like we were talking about how it made no sense that no Avengers went to the funeral.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they should have been there for action scenes, working together to stop this whole thing. I think that would have been good. Absolutely. And once again, I'm going to say it. I said it once. I'm going to say it a million times. I would have absolutely not had him kill the Queen.
No. I wouldn't have that. You know what else would have been cool, since we can't technically have Reed Richards premiere there. They should have given us Blue Marvel, I think, during WandaVision. But Atlantis Attacks, the Avengers movie, would have been a great time for another scientist, the Blue Marvel, to come up and deal with the Atlantean problem. And he could have been the powerhouse guy that they premiere to beat the crap out of Namor, right? Because
I love that. Oh my God, that's a great idea.
Namor was super buffed in that, and I don't mean physical. Like, he was way stronger than I've ever seen him in the comics, bro. But they could have had Blue Marvel beat him, and then Sentry comes in and Blue Marvel, and it sells itself, right, at a certain point.
And one thing I'm really worried about with Sentry, is you know how they always kill their villains?
They're gonna kill him.
If he's just a one-off and then he gets killed, I don't even know if I could take that.
So I mean, the Sentry could have been a great big bad for a smaller phase as well, because the Void he's a cosmic. He's not a cosmic threat, but he's a world threat, right? He's a threat to the world.
I would say they should defeat the Void, still have the Sentry. He should join the Avengers. Boom.
Yeah, he's too unstable though. Hyperion is who we should have had. It would have been great to see Sentry kill like Icarus though, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? You bring all the other Superman wannabes in and Sentry kills them. That would be amazing. That would have been amazing.
Although I'm a Hyperion guy, I agree with you. I like Hyperion. I wish he would win, but I know he wouldn't win against Sentry.
Yeah, Hyperion. I don't understand his scaling sometimes. Depending on what universe he's in, he's either the toughest like hero period, or he's gonna get handled. But these leaks, my brother, to the leaks, you and I are gonna go see the movie, right? We're gonna go see what's first. We're gonna see it's Doomsday and then Secret Wars, right?
Yes.
Now the question is, this is what I want to ask you, man. We both remember the excitement of going to see Infinity War and the emotional roller coaster of waiting for Endgame and then seeing Endgame. Do you think people are gonna make it through two more of those?
This is the thing. It has to be good, and so I'll tell you right now. The story, I probably have told the story in this podcast a million times, of Infinity War. So I had hit superhero fatigue. I wasn't completely done, but I was like, Infinity War, whatever. And everyone at my job went.
Yeah.
And they went. Here's what it is. They went that Thursday night, and so I come in Friday. And they're all talking about it. And I was like, can you guys not talk about it around me? And every time I'd come into the room, everyone would shut up. And I'd be like, what's wrong? And I realized they were talking about it. And I was just like, was it really that good? And they're like, yo, Mantis, you need to see this movie. And so even though I worked late, I found a theater. And this is up in Westchester. This is suburbs.
Right.
You know? I was like, I found a theater that still had a showing, and I just went mad towns over to go see it. And the experience of Infinity War, the fact that they ended with all these characters dying, it made it so you had to see Endgame.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no choice. There's no choice. I cannot live without Endgame, basically. And so they need to do a similar thing, in my opinion, to get people to do back-to-back Avengers movies.
Yeah, Doomsday has to be so emotionally involved. Oh, don't forget, we got Doctor Strange in the background somewhere. Whatever's going on with him, right? Like it's a tall order, but if anyone can land it, let's be honest, Marvel can, right? You know, and we made it through Captain America, the very first Captain America movie. Don't forget, we made it through Iron Man 2 and 3. 2 wasn't as bad as 3, you know.
But I wouldn't say they're good movies.
And Thor, Dark World.
Thor, Dark World. Oh, it's definitely up there as one of the worst. But like, you know, I think between the movies though, you know, because I think they were a year apart, I think Doc Strange and Spider-Man are coming out between them.
Yeah.
So that should be a good year of movies, provided they don't mess this up.
And then Fantastic Four. So in regards to the leaks, I'm not making a big deal out of this, but we just got to see how much of it comes. And, you know, again, Jonathan Majors was miscast, man. And I think they should bring Jonathan Majors back. I'm going to die on this hill, man. This is some BS, bro. It's like, it really is.
Here's what it is. I would absolutely agree with you if it wasn't for Ant-Man. See, Ant-Man was a movie that shouldn't have been made because they really punked this fool.
Yeah, but he was great in it.
He is great in it, but the fact that he's defeated by Ant-Man makes me think that Kang is a punk and unworthy of being the big bad.
True. And that's why he should have just been tied to Loki. Honestly, man, like it really should be. I know you don't like Agatha, but like their introduction of Lady Death and Agatha was worth it. Because here's what worked about her introduction. It was super cheesy. Almost to the point of what's her name? What's the young lady's name that played her? Audrey.
Who, Agatha?
Yeah, no, that played Lady Death and Agatha.
Oh yeah, Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, she was like super annoying at certain points, like doing this thing with her hand. But there was a brief moment after Agatha dies, right, where she actually becomes the Mistress Death, like proper, and you're like, oh, okay, that was well done. Like she stops being comical, she stopped, and it's just like that's how you expect Mistress Death to be. I was waiting for that moment with Kang and Ant-Man, and it came too early. Remember when he was talking to him when he's in jail, and he's like, he basically told him he was going to snap his neck. And I was like, foreshadowing, and we never got that moment, bro. We never got that.
That would have been a way better way to end it, where he kills Ant-Man.
Yeah,
Ant-Man's family wants revenge.
Yeah, absolutely. If he'd have killed Ant-Man and Wasp, that would have been amazing. You know, because it would have been high stakes. But it is what it is. My brother, we're at the end of the road here. First pre-recorded show in years. How are you feeling, man?
Freaking amazing. I could go another 4 hours. What about you?
Maybe 3.5.
But you guys are listening to the Fanboy Modeling School over here on Riz Radio. We are hamming it up over here. Fat Mantis and
Steve, real name, no gimmicks.
Absolutely. And why don't you tell them where they can find you, my friend?
Sundays and Tuesdays, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Mic check on Sundays, where we go over hip-hop news and absolutely take a metaphorical deuce on your favorite artist. And then New to Me Tuesdays, where I'm listening to music that's new to me that could have came out a few years ago. So it's a good time.
Oh, man, I love metaphorical deuces. And you can, of course, find me, the Fat Mantis, on Burn Your Degree, Saturday and Sunday at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I actually, on Sunday, I come on before your Uncle Steve, real name, no gimmicks. So you can catch us both there, double feature. Yes. And, of course, Fanboy Modeling Schools, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And so we're your drive time DJs. I think we're going to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed our thorough analysis of all things nerdy.
Yes. Have a good night.
Until next time, ciao for now.
Fanboy Modeling School.